The WNBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Fantasy. They have a brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5, get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with the promo code NBA SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the WNBA Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Going solo for this episode. Terrell told me that he could not make it, so instead of recording normal time at 11 a.m., decided to record solo because why not? The lines are out, the props are out, time to get into the action. So we're going to break down all four games for the Thursday card. Before we get to that, though, a brief look at what happened on Tuesday and Wednesday. Ended up splitting. The Lock and Dog picks did lose the Sabrina under PA. The 4-point play didn't help in the final minute, but either way, she shot the ball horribly. Bunch of assists, though, so she went over her PA, but did end up winning the dog. Kinda. We had a reduced payout as we had Asia to go over her points with the Aces -2. The Aces got to stop. Unfortunately, the Mercury did not foul, and the Aces won by exactly 2. So instead of hitting a plus money play for the dog, got a reduced -120. But either way, point is still won the dog, I guess. So it could have been worse. But pretty fun, I'd say, collection of games there on Tuesday. The Liberty finally beat the Lynx as they won by 10. A nice job. Sabrina put the game on ice. Minnesota didn't go anywhere, hung around, but eventually Jonquel was too much as she had 22 and 10. Saw the Sun get a nice win as they coasted against the Mystics, courtesy of a very nice second quarter, where they outscored the Mystics 26-12, and you ended up seeing Nelson Adota, who had 15 and 9. Citron, though, had 19 points, but it was not enough as the Sun did win comfortably. I believe they had lost 13 straight in a row on the road, and they ended up snapping that streak. It's a nice job by the Sun to win a road game. The Storm finally won a game. They did not cover, though, as they ended up beating the Sky by 6. They were up by a ton, gave up 38 points in the fourth quarter. 38 points. Now, you could argue that it was basically garbage time because the Storm were going to win the game anyway, but that's insane, and the Sky did enough to backdoor the spread as they ended up covering, which I know Terrell and I did like. You saw Angel Reese come back. She had 19 and 7. Diggins Smith played well, as she ended up having 24 and 6. So overall, a nice job by her. But the other game, you saw the Aces win an epic against the Dream as they were down, came back, and then eventually ended up seeing Asia hit the go-ahead shot as she had 32, 12, and 5. Talked about it with Terrell last episode. Even though Nafisa might win MVP, I still think the best player in the league is Asia. So either way, Asia did Asia things, and you ended up seeing Asia carry her team to a win. Chelsea Gray, though, might officially be back. The point guard had a double-digit assist game again, and she has been really good lately. Nice to see. We've been waiting for it all season, and it seems like Chelsea Gray, the real one, has finally showed up. So we'll see if she can keep that going for the remainder of the season. But either way, Asia carried at another 32-point game. You ended up having a very high-scoring game, though, to end the card as the Mercury beat the Valkyries 98-91. Did not see that coming. However, you ended up seeing the Valkyries not actually cover, as despite Burton having 24 and 14 with no turnovers, you ended up seeing the Valkyries just not get any stops. You saw E.T. play well again. Not a triple-double, but she was close, as she had 13, 9, and 8. And you ended up seeing Copper drop 25 points. But either way, nice job of the Mercury, getting a nice road win. Valkyries played well. Defense, though, was non-existent. Burton was great. Didn't matter, though, as the Mercury got the job done there on the road. So I see Pretentious mentioning, where is my co-host? First of all, not Lante, it's Terrell, but he's not available, so I'm going solo for the episode. And then we got to mention briefly what happened on Wednesday. The only game on the card, but it was definitely a very good game, as the Sparks did just enough to win against the Wings, as you saw Kelsey Plum hit a game-winning buzzer beater, courtesy of a wide-open floater around the free throw line, bit inside it, but either way, nice win for the Sparks, as they're now one under 500. Main story, though, of the game involved Paige Beckers, who was absolutely insane. Paige Beckers had 44 points, a career high, on 17 of 21 from the floor. She missed 4 shots in the entire game. 44 points. Segrist had 13 as the second highest score. They were the only 2 players to score in double digits on the entire Wings team. So once again, with them scoring 80 points, Paige Beckers as a guard scored more than half of her team's points, and they still lost the game, which is a damn shame. Now, Plum, said before, had the game winner, was pretty underwhelming in terms of efficiency, as she was 9 of 23, went 1 of 9 from 3, had 20 points, including the game winner, obviously. Rikia was very good, had 25 points, 6 of 7 from 3, had the technical late in regulation as she chucked the ball at Paige for a tech, but didn't matter in the end, I guess. Still not exactly the best decision at that time, but they got the job done anyway. Hamby at 13 and 9, and Azare ended up having 8 rebounds, only 5 points, and you saw Brink have 11 and 8 off the bench. Good for her. Her best game since coming back from injury. But point is, Paige was really, really good. And yet, even though she had 44 points out of the team's 80, she did not take a single shot in the final 2 minutes and 49 seconds. She had a technical foul free throw, courtesy of the Rikia Tech, but they didn't get her a single shot in the final roughly 3 minutes. I understand the Sparks were double teaming. At the same point, though, you got to draw something up. Like, simply put, you have to at least try to get her off ball. There were a couple of late shot clock situations where they were sending doubles because you kept sending picks. At some point, you got to let her ISO, or at least try to get something for Paige. Her not really touching the ball in the last 2 minutes was kind of insane. Yes, I understand Paige is also somewhat at fault because she had a couple of chances and chose to be selfless, chose to pass the ball to her teammates, who, spoiler, are not very good. Point is, though, Paige should have been more aggressive down the stretch, but I think the coaching staff should have told her to be more aggressive and told her to look for a shot more. And watching Hines Allen dribble the ball out of bounds in the final 2 minutes, watching a bunch of bricks unfold from her teammates, was painful to watch. It's one thing if Paige is going to end up missing those shots down the stretch. You can live with that, but at the same point, you have to at least acknowledge that Paige, for better or worse, should be going down with the ship, shooting the ball as much as possible. And the coaching staff should have designed some stuff for her, even when she was not on ball. But Paige having 44 points, missing 4 shots in the entire game, and not shooting in the final 2:49 cannot happen. Simply put, that cannot happen. Now, I see Pretentious asking who I'd rather have to build my franchise around, Paige or Caitlin. It's a really good question. Now, if we're talking from a business perspective, you take Caitlin because all the merchandise. From an actual basketball player perspective, I think it's really close. I'll put it that way. I think people would blindly say Caitlin just based on the actual hype. I think Paige is ridiculous, and I think that Arike has been holding her back all season. Yes, the team's not very good around her, so the record's not going to be great. Would I want Caitlin over Paige? I think I probably would take Caitlin, but to be honest, it's very close. I don't think there's really a wrong answer. For money, you would take Caitlin because of all the jersey sales. But if you're talking about winning a title, I think they're both clearly number one options from the guard position. I think I'd go Caitlin, but honestly, if you chose Paige, I would not really disagree with you either. I think it's a really interesting conversation to have. A lot of people automatically dismiss you because there are a lot of casuals out there. Paige is insane. I don't know if people realize how good Paige actually is. Yes, Caitlin's had a really bad sophomore season, and the injuries haven't helped. But so far this season, Paige is averaging roughly 19 points per game, 5 assists per game, and she's shooting about 45.8% from the floor. She's absolutely nuts. I think it's very close. You can argue that both Caitlin and Paige are already top 10, top 5 players in the league. Top 10, I think, is a guarantee at this point for both. Top 5, I mean, you're looking at Asia, you're looking at AT, you're looking, of course, at, drawing a blank here, Nafisa, obviously. For 4 and 5, there's an argument that Caitlin and Paige might actually round out that top 5. They're both insanely good. Really, really good. Now, I understand that Caitlin has been underwhelming this season. Some injury issues are there, too. If you took Paige over Caitlin, I would not really hold it against you. I think that's a valid take. I would take Caitlin if I had to pick one of the two, but I think Paige is really, really good. I think they're both MVP candidates. I think that they're definitely, not this year, obviously, but down the road in their careers. Each of them are going to be competing for MVPs for a long time, but they are both absolutely insane. So either way, though, point is, I see Bear asking about Arike. I've been anti-Arike on the show for a long time. I think she's an absolute chucker, and I do think that Arike has talent, but the issue is when you're constantly hunting your own shot, you don't make your teammates better, and for better or worse, you go down with the ship. When the shot misses, it is quite ugly to watch her play. And the truth is, when Paige is easily the best player on the team, you want the ball in her hands more. And the ball's in Arike's hands a lot. Now, for the actual stats for Arike, which I go through almost every year, in her career, she's shooting 39% in her career. She shot less than 40% from the floor in 3 straight seasons. So, once again, a lot of volume. This year, she cut down. She's only taken about 14 shots per game. But she took at least 17 shots per game in 3 straight seasons while shooting below 40.1% in all 3. I'm not an Arike fan at all. I think that she's a high-volume, low-efficiency player, which is not what I want on my team, personally. I get the talent is there. I'm not saying that she's a bad player in terms of talent, but I think she has a misunderstanding on where wins come from, and I think that she tries to hero ball way too much, which is just not an effective, I'd say, strategy for her skill set. I'll put it that way. I think that she falls into the... I mean, if you want the NBA comparison, if you want like the Jordan Poole type of comp, if you want to go for like a LaMelo Ball shot volume comp, 2 guys who I've been low on in the NBA pod, I think it's a fair comp. Looking at Jordan Poole and LaMelo crossing half court, knowing I'm shooting the ball in this possession, everyone get out of my way. That's the same vibe I get from Arike, and it's not pretty. I'll put it that way. So that's kind of where I'm at for this one. Anyway, point is, Paige had a monster game. They lost anyway. Classic wings, but we'll see what happens. They officially get eliminated from the playoffs. Same with the Sky. So let the tanking begin officially. But either way, very fun solo game on the Wednesday card. Anyway, before we get into the actual games for the Thursday slate, a reminder that you could also sign up for the actual MyBookie once again, website, because you can join to use MyBookie.ag to help bet on baseball, WNBA, golf, and of course football futures. You can also use, if it's applications, use crypto for deposits and payouts. And when you sign up, use the promo code SGPN for a 50% deposit match up to $1K. Terms and conditions, MyBookie.ag promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm because they have a lot of options for models for college football, for NFL, for baseball, for WNBA, you name it. The point is, you can use them especially for the NFL because it's actually happening sooner rather than later. And you're looking at the actual models. They give you player props, which have been very good over the years. So last year, they were great on Tyreek Hill props, 13-5. Josh Allen props were 15-8 on passing props. 23% ROI. Use it, though, for baseball, WNBA, golf, and, of course, college football. And a reminder, you can also build your model starting for week 1 of the NFL season right now. When you do end up signing up for your account, you can get a free trial for a week by using the promo link that we have. Go to the link, sportsgamblingpodcast.com Rhythm, to get your 7-day free trial. Welcome back, everyone, to the WNBA Gambling Podcast. Finished going through the recap of what happened in the last few days. Time to keep it going with the Thursday slate. Starting off with the first game on the card, you have a rematch of the last meeting, so a deja vu game here between the Mystics and the Sun. This time, though, the Sun are the home team after winning a road game, and they were able to kind of dominate for most of that game, as they ended up winning by double digits, as they ended up snapping their road losing streak, winning that game by about 11 points. Now, for the actual matchup here, you're looking at a pretty close line, as the Mystics are favored on the road at -1.5. Sun are once again looking for another win, which has been kind of rare, but they've been better lately. So the youth movement has been working out to some degree. Now, for the over-under in this game, I see 158.5. That game a couple days ago, for reference, did end up going under that number, as the game did land 149. Now, for this matchup, you'd argue that for deja vu principles, the Mystics should be favored and they should win this game. However, I do think you're looking at a spot where the Sun have been better than, once again, expected, based on recent form. I think I am going to go Mystics, though, in this game. Maybe it's just deja vu principles, but I don't know if the Sun should be this close of a dog. The Mystics, at the end of the day, kind of no-showed the second quarter, couldn't come back. But I understand that the Sun defense has been better, as they have allowed less than 75 points in 3 of their last 4. I do think the under is where I'll look for this one. I think that you're looking at a Sun defense which has been better recently. We know the Mystics offense can be underwhelming, especially on the road. I mean, this team is not a good road team at all, and you're looking at what has been a pretty decent showing by the Sun for the last few games. They've won 2 or 3, should have been 3 in a row. They punted that game against the Fever, where they led by about 19 points. and they fumbled it because Kelsey Mitchell had 38 points. But I do think this total feels kind of high. I'll go with the under in this one. I think you're looking at what should be a physical game. I think you'll see some defensive adjustments from both sides. But the Sun defense has been quite underrated lately, and the Mystics offense has been bad on the road. To read off the actual scoring numbers for the Mystics in some of their road games recently, it's been okay. But in reality, the Sun defense I think is undervalued, and I do think that the 149 game in the first total sounds about right. And I do think you might see one of these teams struggle minimum. Give me the under in this game. I see somebody asking for the sound effects. So let me quickly just pull that up. Let me just quickly get it here. There we go. Yeah, it's going to be a toilet bowl. You could argue that there might be a playoff spot, at least fight for the Mystics. We'll see. But for this game, I think I have to go with the under. I think it's appealing. I have some player props that I like. But for the game itself, I'm going to go Mystics, but I'm probably not going to bet the side. Instead, give me the under. I'll back the newly found form of the Sun defense. And for props for this game, there have been two common themes recently. Citron, who's been very good scoring, has not done much in terms of rebounds and assists. Her number's at 6.5, minus 128. She has gone under this number in 9 of her last 10, and she has gone under in 2 of the 3 games against the Sun this season. In the last meeting, she ended up having 6. I like the under at 6.5. Not really her game. We know she's more of a scorer. I'm fine with that, but I think 6.5 rebounds and assists is pretty high. Give me the under at minus 128. I'll also go Shakira on her under 21.5 for her PR. Not been that good lately. She has had less than 21 PR in 7 straight. So you're looking at, once again, a number that feels pretty high. She has gone under this number in 4 straight against Connecticut, so every meeting this season, she has gone under as well. Think the line's pretty high for Shakira, and the fact is, with her and Kiki together, I do wonder how much usage she'll get by comparison. Kiki's been good lately, and I do think that Shakira might, I don't want to say take a back seat, but I think that her numbers are still a bit inflated, and Connecticut's defended her quite well for this number. So give me Shakira under her 21.5 PR at minus 130 as my second prop for this one. Do I want any overs for this one? I mean, Citron points is interesting because she has been really good lately, but I'm wondering if I want to go for anybody on the Sun that I could actually target here. I don't mind Tina Charles potentially, but I want to see her minutes recently because I do think her points make sense to be at 14.5, but I don't know if I actually want it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's kind of about right. So do I want anybody on the Sun for this game? I don't see many players being listed for the Sun, honestly. So I see Mabry, who's been kind of up and down lately. Tina, I think, can be backable, but I think I'll pass on that too. Yeah, I don't see anybody else listed besides those 2 players. So for right now, give me Citron and give me, once again, Austin with the unders. Give me Citron under 6.5 RA. Give me Shakira under 21.5 PR as my 2 props for that game. Now, before we get into the other 3 games, a reminder, though, because I forgot to mention it before, that you can also check out the phrase that pays for SGPN, because they're doing a free giveaway, $1,000 Circa NFL future bet with the phrase that pays. Submit the entire phrase now at sportsgamble.com/phrase to once again get a chance to win a $1,000 free NFL Circa future bet. Anyway, moving on to the second game on the card, you have a match between the Sky and the Liberty. Liberty won a game finally against the Lynx. It was not easy, but they got the job done. Now they're favored by 14.5. The over-under is at 164.5. Now we know that Angel Reese came back, played well. They were getting blown out by the Storm anyway, and then eventually did come back to make the game somewhat competitive on the scoreboard, but still lost. They covered, though. Now the Sky have been really bad on the road as they were 3-13. Liberty are 14-4 at home. They faced off twice this season. Not even close. The Liberty won both games by at least 19 points, but the last meeting was 2+ months ago, back on June 10th. So with Reese coming back, do I think the Liberty are going to actually dominate, or do I think the Sky hang in there and maybe backdoor cover this? I will not pick the Sky to win. I think they're going to lose the game. Now, the question for the Liberty, can they rebound the damn ball? Which is going to be a problem against Cardoso and against, of course, Angel. We'll see. I don't feel great about laying 14.5 here. I think you're looking at a spot where the Liberty probably go up early by a decent amount, coast, and then we'll see if the Sky backdoor the thing or not. Because once again, they scored 30+ points in the fourth quarter just to cover against the Storm. And the Storm stink. So that was not a great showing at all, but they managed to cover at the end because the Storm are a bunch of clowns. But Do I want to take 14.5? Not really, honestly. I think 14.5 is kind of big. You have to keep in mind the scheduling spot for the Liberty. They played 3 games in a row they played 2 games against the Lynx in a row. Played the Aces, played the Sparks, played the Lynx. So they played the Lynx 3 times in the last week and a half and the Aces. And the fact is, now you have a massive step down in competition. You won your biggest game of the season. You beat your rival, finally, after losing the first couple meetings this season. I do question if it's a bad sandwich spot because you ended up beating Minnesota in a big game on Tuesday. You play Thursday, then you're off until Saturday, but you play the Dream. And right now, you are tied with them for first place in the Eastern Conference. So it is a pretty serious letdown spot for the Liberty, with the Lynx right before it and with the Dream right after it. I might be tempted by the points, actually. I think 14.5 is a lot for a team that's really not great at rebounding with the injuries they've had. I know John Quell has to have a good game on the boards, but without Stewie, I question the others stepping up. Miesemann, I know, has been good with the Liberty, but I do question if she will really help out that much on the boards. I think I'll go with the Sky. I think it's just a bad spot on the schedule. I think the Liberty win, but I do think when you're looking at, for example, some situations on the schedule where you end up having an elite team before and after, you might overlook the bottom feeder that just got eliminated from the playoffs. We saw it happen on the 12th of August. The Liberty did win the game, but they played the Lynx, then they had the Sparks, and they played the Aces right after it. They ended up beating the Sparks by 8 on the road, but they gave up 97 points. The game was very close, and you could argue that that game was definitely there for the taking for the Sparks. They just couldn't guard anybody. I think the game's actually close to some degree. I am going to go with the Liberty to win, but I think the rebounding is going to have to be on full display for the Sky to have any chance. So I don't mind the rebounding options here. If you want to go for Reese, I think that could be a good option. I do think that our numbers against the Liberty have been very underwhelming because the scoring has not been good. That also factors in Stewie playing, and of course, she's a good defensive player. So with that being the case, I think I am going to go with rebounds for this one. I do think Cardoso might struggle dealing with John Quell. Foul trouble could be a concern, but I think Reese has a decent spot to get some boards here. In the last meeting against the Liberty, she had 11. She had 12 and 16 the 2 previous meetings. Her numbers at 11.5, minus 135. I don't hate it. I think it's a good spot. The Liberty this season are allowing the 3rd most rebounds per game to opposing centers and opposing forwards. So I think it's a good matchup for Reese, actually, if they keep this game close. A reminder that Reese had 11 in the last game, and that game was a blowout. I mean, they ended up losing by 19. So I do think it's a good spot for Reese to get some rebounds. Give me the Reese over 11.5 boards for this game. For the Liberty, I think it's a weird spot because I understand that Sabrina hit the crazy three-pointer at the end. The problem is she was still horrible from the floor, so she didn't really shoot the ball well. She just ended up hitting a big shot at the end. But she was 5 of 18. In fact, the last 2 games, she's 10 of 34 from the floor. It's been ugly. I think that the Sabrina, you can argue maybe the PR has some value, but I don't trust this guy to play defense, so I'm kind of just stuck for this one. However, I think I am going to go with another prop, though. Give me Cloud over on her rebounds at 3.5. Said a second ago, I question how John Quell and Miesemann are going to match up against Cardoso and against Reese. Cloud might help out. She's been pretty good rebounding recently. She's had at least 4 rebounds in 4 of the last 5. She's had at least 4 rebounds in 12 of the last 20. And for her home games recently, if you want to actually mention those in particular, she has had at least 4 rebounds in 5 of the last 7. Her number's at 3.5. The over's minus 102. I like it. I think it's a good number, and I think it's a good spot for her to contribute. She has had 4 rebounds in 3 of the last 4 games against the Sky, so I think it's a good spot for her. The last game she did not. She only played 18 minutes. So assuming a decent amount of playing time for Cloud, probably north of 25, give or take, I think it's a decent spot for Cloud rebounds. I think that this team has to really just come together as a unit to, I'd say, gang rebound to combat the front court that the Sky have. So for me, I'll go with Cloud over on her rebounds of 3.5. Don't mind Reese over 11.5 rebounds as well. I think for the side, I'll go with the Sky. I might not bet this, we'll see, but it is a very good sandwich spot to fade the Liberty in with the Lynx before and with the Dream after. Give me the Sky to once again keep this game somewhat close or to maybe get blown out and then find a way to backdoor it in the 4th quarter. Moving on to the next game, the Lynx taking on the Dream. Now, the Lynx we saw look pretty good the last couple weeks without Collier in the lineup, despite losing the last game to the Liberty. Gave it a run. I think nobody expected them to beat the Liberty 3 times in a row based on the actual schedule. It was a pretty ridiculous double revenge spot for the Liberty, and they played 3 straight games against the Liberty, but that did snap a winning streak. They had won 6 in a row. Now they take on Atlanta on the road. Now, Atlanta's been good against them so far this season. Faced off in Minnesota about a month ago, and the Dream did win by 4. Faced off in Atlanta back in late June, the Lynx won in overtime. So the Dream have given this team problems so far this season. However, Dream are off a pretty tough loss there to the Aces in their last game. Also lost their last home game to Seattle, and Seattle's been underwhelming in general, but that was an immediate deja vu revenge game, so we'll see. The Lynx, though, are 28-6. Whether Collier plays or not, this team is absolutely insane. Best team in the league by a mile right now. Now, the Dream, I recognize this team, of course, has been very good. I'd say better than we all thought they would be. Still a bit injured, though, because Jordan Canada is still out for this game. So you're a bit shorthanded, missing a guard who's averaging 12 points per game and 5.7 assists. They've been good anyway, but against this team that's so well coached and a team that has this much depth, I got to go Minnesota in this game. If I was going to pick Atlanta, I think I would need a full-strength team. I get Howard came back, and I get that once again they've been a solid team with Alicia Gray leading the way. Having said that, I think the Lynx are just the better coach team, and I do think that with the scoring depth they have, even without Nafisa, they just win a bunch of games. You really just have to play a full 40 minutes to beat them because they never go away. And we saw in that last game that the Dream played against the Aces, they were doing pretty well, and they let the Aces hang around. And in the fourth quarter, they kind of took their foot off the gas. I'm concerned that if this game does get close, it's really difficult, almost impossible, to outplay this Lynx team in crunch time because of how well coached they are. They have so much depth. We know Courtney, we know McBride, even Alana's been good lately. It feels like the Lynx just run the right sets all the time in crunch time. And the Dream's late game offense, can be problematic at times, and I do think this game might come down to the wire. So if you want to argue that the Dream maybe get the job done at home, I think the game will be close, so I'm not going to really roast you if you go for the Dream here. But I'll go with the Lynx. I think they're better personally. That's kind of my thoughts for that one. I see a question by Bear, if there's value on the Dream to win the title at 11-1. I think a lot of it might come down to if Stewie comes back or not for the Liberty. And the fact is, do I think the Dream could beat the Lynx or the Liberty in a playoff series? Yes. I think they could if things go well for them. Having said that, do I think they can beat the Liberty and the Lynx in a playoff run? I'm going to say no. I think one of those two teams will win the championship. The Liberty have not been great recently. I get it. Brianna Stewart, former MVP, she's really, really good. It's a big deal that she's not there. You have her, you have Miesemann, you have, of course, John Quell, you have Sabrina. Sabrina's shot, though, has been a problem, and I've been mentioning this on the show for weeks, but still, I do think I would take them both over the Dream, but if the Dream ended up upsetting the Liberty in a playoff series, I would not be totally surprised. I would still pick the Lynx to win the whole thing, because they're this good and Collier hasn't come back yet, but I do think you could argue 11-1, they are easily the third best team. You could argue that they're the same tier as the Mercury. We'll see. Do I think there's value? I'm going to say no, because I don't think they're going to win the whole thing. But I understand your argument. If maybe Brianna or Collier get re-injured and maybe the whole bracket opens up, the Dream are definitely capable of being a good team that can be a dark horse candidate. I wouldn't pick them to win, but I think they're the third best team in the league when healthy, because of course I have to include Nafisa and Stewie playing. So I think to answer your question, Bear, I'm going to say no, because I don't see them winning personally, but I get where your head's at. They're definitely a very good team. They could make the final. In that case, you might hedge, but I don't see them beating the Liberty and the Lynx in a single playoff run. So I'll see what happens. But anyway, I'm moving on to the next game on the card, looking at the Mercury taking on the Aces. Now, for this one, the Aces have been rolling. They've been really good lately after we called them out for being average and for underachieving. We thought Becky Hammond might have lost it. They got it back on track as they have won 8 in a row. nice wins too against the Dream. Beat the Wings, beat the Mercury, beat the Liberty. So some pretty good teams here that they've been able to beat both home and away. Now, rematch here against the Mercury, and they're playing a couple of days ago, and we saw the Liberty win by 3. That was back on the 15th. So fun game, came down to the wire, but the Aces did enough to win the game in the end. Now, for the spread here, the Aces are laying 1.5. The over-unders are 169.5, and you're looking at the money line being around minus 125 for the Aces, plus 105 for the Mercury. Now, for this game, we know that Asia has been insane, and I'm not saying she's going to win MVP, but she reminded everyone that she's still, in my opinion, the best player in the world in this league, and I think that she's the best player ever to play in this league. However, we know that AT is trying to win MVP, and she has a flirtation with a triple-double every single game. So the question is, do I think the Mercury are the better team right now, or do I think the Aces, who are 13-5 at home, get the job done? I'm going to go with the Aces in this game. The fact is, Gray's been really good lately. I'd say reclaiming her point guard nickname. We know Asia has been incredible. The fact is, though, the Aces have won 2 in a row. Even when they were not good earlier this season, back in late June, they beat Phoenix in Phoenix by 3. So I do like the fact the Aces have won 2 straight against this team. Yes, Phoenix was able to get the job done against the Valkyries in a very high-scoring game. We know Copper 25, AT had a solid game in general. They did end up beating the Storm. A very close game, came down to the wire, and the Storm fell apart. But it's really hard to go against this Aces team because they've been really good. I might just keep riding this team until they lose. But for this game, the fact is the Aces just beat Phoenix on the road. Now they're back at home, where they are 13-5. It's good enough for me, I think. Fun fact, by the way, these teams are currently tied in the standings. The Mercury are slightly ahead based on the, I'd say, winning percentage, because they have played 2 fewer games than the Aces. But they are both 7 games back of the Lynx, so these teams are actually closer in standing than you might think, because the Aces, of course, have won 8 in a row. I'll go with the Aces here. The fact is they've won 2 straight against this team, and I do think after really calling out Becky and calling out this entire team with Jewel and with Chelsea underachieving, they figured some stuff out. And the fact is Chelsea's regained her form. Jewel came off the bench, which kind of gave her a spark. They've been really good, and there's really no reason for me to go against them, just based on their current form. Satu, we know, can mentally check out of any game, and they need her to play well. AT offensively can struggle against the Aces. They tend to game plan for her pretty well. I'll go with the Aces here, minus 1.5. I'll back team that's won 8 in a row. Yes, Copper's been good. I get it. They're going to need her to play well. It might just be Satu for me, who I just don't really like based on consistency. I wish she played well more often than she does. We saw her take a leave of absence for a game from the team. She wasn't happy getting benched. It does feel like there's a bit of an ego thing there, and if she's not getting her shot early, she might just check out, which does concern me when she's a top 3 player on the team. The Aces, though, at least have a hierarchy in place. It's Asia, then it's Chelsea. Of course, you have Jackie in there, too. But the point is, I do think the Aces are starting to figure it out, and they have won 8 in a row. I'll back them at home here for this game. I'll back Asia to carry this team once again to a nice home win. Anyway, for the actual props for this game, you're looking at Asia, who has been moved to 24.5. Can't argue it, because she's been absolutely insane. Asia to lead the game in scoring, though, is minus 135. You know, I'm a fan of that because Asia can drop 30 in any game. You're also looking at the Mercury, and we know that Copper could have a solid game. We know that AT can have the occasional 30. Mainly looking to pass, though, so AT I don't really view as being a threat for leading score in this game. Satu, we know, can check out as well, been bad historically against the Aces, so I think for this one, give me Asia to lead the game in scoring at minus 135. Excuse me. I think it's definitely interesting, and I do think that Asia is the best player on the court. No offense to AT. So give me Asia to play well at home. For reference, on her points, by the way, 24.5. Minus 105, she has gone over this number in 6 of the last 7. She's been incredible. She has had at least, let me pull it up, at least 26 points in 4 straight against the Mercury. She had 30 in the last game in Phoenix about 6 days ago. Give me Asia over her points. I'm going to go back to Chelsea assists, though. It's at 5.5 again. It was plus money last game. She had 11. She's had 9 plus in 3 straight. I like the matchup. The fact is the Mercury give up a lot of assists, as they're allowing the 4th most assists per game to opposing guards in the league. I like the play there. Give me Chelsea Gray over on her assists. She had 9 against this team about 6 days ago. Give me Chelsea Gray over on her assists as my other play for this one. So anyway, that is going to wrap it up for all the games on the card. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. For that, the reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is once again Circa, because they're hosting 3 of the biggest football contests of the upcoming NFL season. They have Circa Million, Circa Survivor, and Circa Rendissimo. Over $20 million guaranteed prizes. And a reminder, you can also hang out at SGPN right now at CircaCon this weekend from the 21st, 23rd of August. For an amazing weekend, including live shows at open bars. Plus, get a nice discount, 15% off your stay at Circa with the code SGP15. And a reminder, comes open to everyone. Sign up at Avada, play with our proxy service. Use footballcontest.com. Use code SGP to $50 off your proxy fees. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy because we're Best Mania happening all summer long. If you want to try out a new format for Underdog, once again, fantasy football, check that out because there's $50 million in prizes up for grabs, 2 in first place. There's no waiver wire, no trades. And a reminder that you'd also use Underdog Pick'em. If you want to do an entry, you want to 500 times your entry. Reminder though, when you do sign up for a new account, use their new promo deal, which is playing just $5, get $50 bonus funds when you sign up with the promo code NBA SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the WNBA Gambling Podcast. Finished going through the games for the Thursday card. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks for the show. Now, for the lock, I thought about going with the aces, but do I want to throw Asia in there instead? Because I could save that as a dog and just run back what I did in the last episode. I might do that, but I'm wondering if there's another prop that I'm really tempted by for this one. I also thought about Chelsea Gray assists, honestly. So there's actually a couple of things I could go with for this game. You know what? I think I'm going to double down on the Aces game because I can. Give me Asia to lead the game in scoring again at minus 135. I've taken a leading scorer prop twice this season. I have dead heated both times. What can possibly go wrong? But I like 135 here. I think it's a good price. Give me Asia to lead the game in points at minus 135 on DraftKings as my lock. For my dog, I'm going to go with a play that I think is a pretty solid correlation between the Aces winning and, once again, Chelsea Gray having a good game. So I'm going to go with her assist in this one, as she had 9 in the last game against the Mercury. And, of course, she has been very good recently. Give me the Aces money line thrown in with Chelsea Gray over on her assists. I'll go with trying to see what the exact number is here. I see 6 assists with the Aces money line at plus 173. Give me a double down for the Aces here. I think that whether they win or lose, not for the dog, but for the lock, I trust Asia to do her thing. I think Gray will help feed her the rock. Give me those 2 plays as my lock and dog. So once again, the lock will be on Asia to lead the game in scoring at minus 135. For the dog, give me Chelsea Gray over 5.5 assists with the Aces money line at plus 173 on FanDuel. Anyway, time to move on into the Underdog Fantasy entry for the show. So looking at the options here, Asia points I thought was interesting because she's been so good against this team. But do I want to go for rebounds as well? It's at 11.5. I get it, but you know what? I'll go with the points instead. I can't really go against it. She's been a monster. Give me Asia higher, 24.5 points as my first choice for the prop. Or for the entry. Once again, I'll go back to Chelsea Gray. I'll just run back the assists as well. It's correlated, but she has been quite good. So I'll go with Chelsea Gray higher on her 5.5 assists as well. And let me just quickly see if that is available on her own. So just give me 1 second. I don't know if it actually is available. So I can't take that right now. So I'll have to punt from that. I'll go back to what I said before with the Mystics game, though. Looking at the Citron RA. I don't mind the lower on that. That's on a road as well. Give me the Citron lower, 6.5 RA. And for the last option, I'm going to go with, do I want Angel Reese rebounds in this game? It's not bad. I prefer it when Cardoso doesn't play. You know what? No, I'll trust my instincts here. I'll go with Cloud for a rebound. She's been good lately for rebounds. I think that 3.5 is too short. Give me the higher on that one. So once again, the plays here for the entry. The first play is going to be on Asia, higher, 24.5 points. Second play will be Citron lower on her rebounds and assists, and that one was available at 6.5. And for the last play, I am going to go with Natasha Cloud higher, 3.5 rebounds, and that's going to wrap it up for the Underdog entry. I know it's going to wrap up for the show. We might be back again once again Thursday night or Friday morning. Terrell should be back for the next episode, but of course did this one solo. Find me on Twitter as Radio. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.